So, we're here. You want to tell the others what a pripachik is very quickly before we go?
Pripachik, I phoned a friend.
What is a pripachik?
Yeah, I phoned a friend of mine, and what he told me was, it's like a brick structure, maybe so wide, so long, to the ceiling, and you throw some fire, you throw some wood or something in, close the door, doors in the front, doors in the side, and what it has, it has channels.
Okay.
So the heat from the wood goes through all these 5 or 6 channels.
And radiates out.
And because it's so tall, and there's a lot of cement and bricks, you light it only once in 12 hours or something, because the bricks get warm, and it radiates out for many, many hours.
Here, this is the schematic.
Pripachik.
When I looked that same night, it just had only
Yeah,
kept coming over the
So I have to
song.
phone a friend of mine.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah,
Look at
yeah.
this.
So if you look up in Google Russian fireplace or Russian
Right, they
furnace,
said it was a Russian word, actually.
yeah,
See
Russian furnace or Russian fireplace,
Russian
that's
oven, Russian
Oven?
fireplace or Russian
oven
oven.
or something.
Yeah, but it's Russian
And
fireplace.
that's what it is. So it's supposed to squeeze every little bit of energy
Well,
out.
you can see that,
So
yeah.
it's got,
Like
that
you say,
one's,
if it heats
oh,
up
that
the
one's
bricks.
that way. The one that I saw was up
It's
and down.
vertical.
Okay, whatever, it doesn't
And
matter.
this is good.
This
yeah,
makes this
it's
makes
all-
more sense because otherwise it goes up. It's going to go straight up.
No, it
No,
goes
it
up
said
and down.
up and down, up and down.
But that makes more sense because
But the same kind of.
The same
whatever,
kind of
it doesn't
concept.
matter.
No, it's
And
got.
that one, what was yours called, Rabbi?
but it cools off as it
What
goes
did
through
you
its
look at?
cooling.
Your
I looked
Right.
up a Russian oven. What he told me.
Russian
Look,
oven,
Yeah.
Russian fireplace, but that's
or
I don't know. I didn't do it all. I didn't
masonry
do it.
stove or Russian fireplace.
Okay.
Russian fireplace. What was the first word?
But the one that I saw was this.
Russian
Oh,
a masonry stove
Masonry stove. Gotcha.
or a Russian fireplace.
Perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Those Russians. So you see, you can't
So
make
it
jokes
squeezes
about
it
Russians.
squeezes out the last bit of energy.
I'm
from it.
asking you.
No,
There you
no.
go.
So a friend of mine, told me he had one. He was in Poland, and then he
Fantastic.
told me what it was.
Thank you.
All right, there we go. Now you know every time we sing it.
Yeah, now that
But
I
the only
see
question is this off in Pripachik, but it should be in the Pripachik.
we don't want to be in the.
No, but the fire's in
the
it.
fire's in
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So I don't
Brent,
know.
the
I
fire.
have to ask.
In that, you're right.
I have to look at Taisvis on that.
All right. Anyways, there you go.
But when you look up the song,
Now you know
the
what you're
English
singing.
translation,
They don't
it
know.
keeps saying hearth. But this is not.
Right.
I guess it's too long to say Russian fire.
So, well, I guess they could have been indented, put stuff on top of it.
Terrific, terrific.
Anyways, there we go. So now
Right.
you know. We are on Yud Bet and Aleph. Okay?
Yes.
And we had we have one piece of Gemara here that's really a standalone from the previous piece, which was about Davar Malacha She'ed Tzricha L'Gufa. Remember, we
Right.
talked about do something for a purpose that's much. I'll give you an example. We talked about taking a corpse out, right? Taking a corpse out. So you're not carrying the corpse, you're carrying an object from inside to outside, but the real purpose is to clean the room for the Kohen to be able to go in. Or another example, if you dig a hole, but the purpose of the hole is not for digging the hole, the purpose is you want to use the dirt.
Right.
So that's Malacha She'ed Tzricha L'Gufa. So that was the last thing we had said. Now, but the bottom line the bottom line of this whole thing was that as you get close to Shabbos, the Chayat is not supposed to walk out with his needle, whether it's in his thing or out of his thing. All these artisans shouldn't walk out with something they may forget to continue to remove before Shabbos itself. So we are on Yud Bet Aleph, 2, 4, 6, 8 lines to the top. Yud Bet Aleph, not Yud Bet Bet, Yud Bet Aleph.
You
Okay,
said it, didn't you?
8 lines to the top.
You said it right.
The second word on the line is Talmud Bavli Rabbi Shmuel. This is like a coda to the whole discussion, and it gives another halacha, and you see it's a very, very nice halacha. Yotzei Adam b'tefillin be'erev Shabbos im chashecha. In those old days, they used to wear tefillin 24/7, or many people would
No,
wear
I was going to
tefillin
say only to read.
24/6, right? But we believe it was surely more common than today, right?
Yeah.
If you see the pictures of the Vilna Gaon,
Yeah, but
he's always wearing talis and tefillin,
Right.
right?
But he's not your average guy.
But he's not the average guy that went out there working, but he sat and studied and learned and davened and whatever he did all day, so he wore tefillin. Most people today don't. That's really because tefillin have a very high sense of kedusha, and one has to try to remember you're wearing tefillin. But for those people who did wear tefillin, right, you could wear tefillin even close to Shabbos. We don't wear tefillin on Shabbos because,
It's already a sima.
right, it's an os. Shabbos is an os and tefillin is an os, and therefore, if we don't wear tefillin on Shabbos, it serves no purpose. So it can't be considered something we would want to carry, right? So therefore, you can't carry it on Shabbos. However, close to Shabbos, you could. Why? So even though all these other objects you can't, as you got close to Shabbos, because we're afraid you may continue. Chashecha is like the period from candle lighting until sundown, right? As it's getting dark, right on top of Shabbos. In other words, it's so why could you? Yotzi adam b'tefillin b'erev Shabbos im chashecha as it gets dark, right? My time cave and the Amar Barafuna chayv adam lamashmesh b'tefillin kol shah v'shah, seeing that a person has to touch or
be in contact with
the tefillin the whole time. Therefore, why? Because you want to make sure it's in the proper place. You want to make sure it falls off, doesn't fall in the wrong place. So you're always going to be checking your tefillin. So therefore, it would never come a situation where you could go for very long without being aware that you're wearing tefillin. So therefore, even up until sundown, up until the actual sundown chashecha, you can wear the tefillin because there's no concern that you may come to continue it because you can't. And you have to be aware of tefillin, not just wear it. You have to be aware of it as well. And how do you know? And how do you know that one has to actually be concerned? Lamashmesh b'tefillin is not only to move it, but to make sure that you're aware or consciously aware of it. How do you know this? So the Gemara says, "Kal v'chomer mitzitz." This is the tzitz is the what do you call it? This was it gold or silver? The gold.
Gold front piece.
Front piece, right?
There, yeah.
That's right. The tzitz, and the tzitz had kodesh lashem on it. The tzitz was actually put in the Choshen Mishpat. Matzitz she'en bo laskara achad, only has one name of Hashem. Amra Torah. I'm gonna say this was the part that tzitz was placed on his forehead.
Right.
V'haya mitzchol tamid. So it says it has to be on his forehead all the time,
right.
Which means tamid. What do you mean? It's obviously on his forehead. Shlo yasiach daito mimenu means you got to remember that it's on your forehead. The pasuk tells him that the Kohen Gadol is going to wear the tzitz on his forehead. It says Kodesh Lashem. So obviously it's on his forehead. So the extra couple of words, V'haya mitzchol tamid, is telling me he's got to remember that he's wearing the tzitz. He's got to be conscious of it. Now the tzitz only had one name of Hashem. It said Kodesh Lashem, two words. Right, one word. The second word was Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei.
Right.
So one word, one Hashem. The Kohen Gadol had to be concerned about it the whole time. Shlo yasiach daito mimenu. Tefillin sheish ba maskarot harbe. The tefillin that has the same name of Hashem, the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, written many times because it has the four parshios that are in the tefillin. Alachas kama v'kama. Surely one has to remain conscious about that he's wearing the tefillin. Helkach midkar dacher. Midkar the Dalet and the Zayin, like mizkar zacher. Surely he will remember lahu, and therefore you're not concerned that a person will go out and continue to wear it on Shabbos. So even up until sundown, if he's wearing tefillin and doing good stuff, he can wear it right up until the last minute, right before Shabbos. Okay, so that's like a coda. It has nothing to do with what we learned, but just kind of like he wanted to finish off this long piece of Gemara on a happy note, positive note. And then finally the coda to the coda. Okay, once again, this really has nothing to do with walking out. It does have to do with walking out with something that may be attached to you or carrying. Tanya, you'll recognize this from Bamemad Leiken. Tanya Chananya Omer, Chayiv Adam Lamashmesh Bevegdo Erev Shabbos Im Chashecha. A person is obligated to check his clothing Erev Shabbos when it gets dark, to make sure there's nothing that you're carrying unbeknown to you as you go into Shabbos. We live in a world with eruvin, right? So it's not likely that we will have something in our pocket. You may have something that not Shabbos object, matches, right? Money, right? Those kind of things. But the idea of carrying would be less of a problem. But if those of us who grew up without eruvs or go to a place without an eruv, know that you always have to check your pockets before you go out. So he says, not just before you go out, but Erev Shabbos, you check your pockets to make sure there's nothing there inadvertently, right? We've all had this kind of misfortune. I'm sure somewhere in Shabbos you realized there was something in your pockets, like a pen or something like that. But that's what you're supposed to do. And we recognize this once again. I said you recognize this from the piece of Bamemad Leiken, and I'm Rabbi Yosef, and we have this as well at the end of Bamemad Leiken. Hilchasa Rabsa l'Shabbos. This is a great halacha for Shabbos. In other words, Rabsa means a gadol, like a lot. This is a great law. It's not like a great intellectual law. It's a very important law to make sure that people don't carry on Shabbos by checking their pockets before it gets dark. Okay, so having had all the complicated stuff last time, this is the last piece. Just ends it off in a very positive, upbeat note.
Very straightforward.
Very straightforward. And as I said, it wended its way into the end of Bamemad Leiken. Okay. Now, the Mishnah talked about not carrying, certain people not carrying close to Shabbos. And then the Mishnah continued and said two things. One should not lo yafalet kelav. One should not check the lice on his garment.
Ah, right.
And v'lo yikol alaner. One should not read by the light of the candle. Okay. By the way, the light of the candle, right? What was the problem if you read by the light of the candle?
Remove it.
You may come to adjust it.
Right.
So that does not become a problem for our electric lights, because the electric lights you can't move it. You can turn it off. You can turn it on.
Right.
Right, but I mean, you theoretically could tilt it, but the idea of tilting it was more of a concern if the flicker was going to go out.
Right.
So that's usually not a concern that's coming up. Either you have it on or you have it off.
Right.
Now, the issue does come up in poskim of what if you don't see this anymore. Remember they had the lights that had 3 levels?
Right.
Yeah,
you
Put it
sure?
on,
Yes,
medium,
yes.
Tri-lights, yeah, yeah.
off,
Of
tri-lights, higher and higher. There were 2
Definitely,
filaments inside, one filament, second filament, both filaments together.
Yeah.
So the poskim say, well, maybe that should be the same thing. You put it on the low level, you want to raise it to the high level, or vice versa.
Right.
Could that be an issue? They say it's not really that same thing, because the real issue about adjusting, it was not about adjusting for the light, it was more about adjusting the flame which began to flicker.
Right.
Whatever level you chose it on, you're going to keep it at. You have experience. When you lit the candle, and you're reading by candlelight on Shabbos, and it was a candle, right? The candle, the wick can be thicker or skinnier, and the level of the flame is not going to be exactly as you think it would be. Or maybe it got jolted, and so the wick becomes less stable, and the flame becomes less stable. Those were the issues about trying to adjust it. And specifically, not just for light, but specifically for reading, right? Which is detail work. So if the light goes less than what you thought it was, then you might be tempted to do so. We'll show you a piece of the Gemara where someone actually did. But when you had a tri-light and you lit it one way, you knew it. You've got to consciously now go change it. So that's something you're not going to do because you set it initially the right way. Yes?
If you got an oil lamp, though, you can get the flame bigger and smaller by just moving the wick up and down.
Like
I
those,
guess so.
Those hurricane lights. Where they
Well, that's interesting, but
Yeah, hurricane lamp.
You can do the same thing with
Kerosene.
An oil lamp. If you get the wick, you pull a little bit more wick out, you'll get more flame.
Bigger flame.
You just consume the wick faster.
Maybe, yeah, okay. And it also, we'll see it also may depend on the type of fuel we're using. Like oil is going to be easier. Oil is more clear, but they would use sometimes naphtha, right, which flickered more like a kerosene kind of flame.
Yeah, maybe they're worried about it going out more than anything else if you touch it or you move it or whatever.
But it's not that you can't have a light. Sure, you can have a light. You had a light to eat with. People had Shabbos candles, right? Our Shabbos candles add to the candle lights that's already on our houses. But back in the day, that was the light. That was it. And they added many Shabbos candles to make it lichtig, because that was the light. And you can't eat in the dark. Eat in the dark is not Onyx Shabbos. It's not Simchas Yom Tov to sit in the dark, completely dark at least. But something that was detail work, right? You know how difficult it is when we have a blackout. Right, you have a blackout. What happens? You find flashlights, you find lights, you find candles, yahrzeit candles. But the answer is you really can't do too much at home. Why? Because we're not used to reading by single candlelight power. Right? All right. Anyways, so the discussion here that we're going to talk about is about
Where's the lice?
the lice, right? Whether lice is a problem of killing lice on Shabbos, or is lice a problem about adjusting the flame as you begin to look for the lice? Now, lice is a very complicated thing, and if I have a chance, we'll show you a piece of Moshe Feinstein, because it's not clear what they believed lice were. In other words, if you believe you can kill lice, why are lice different than, than animals?
Yeah, for sure.
So they may not have understood that lice knows. You'll see that most people say you can't kill lice, cannot, okay? But assuming that you'll see that there are opinions which seem you could kill the lice, right? Which sounds like very difficult. How are they allowing lice to be killed on Shabbos? So it's possible they may not have understood that lice were born the same way that animals are born.
I think I read somewhere else spontaneous
generation.
Spontaneous generation. I
Yeah.
thought
Correct.
they
I
just
know in those
appeared.
days, but
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, by the time it gets to Tosfos and the Rishon talk about different kinds of lice. They're talking about jumping lice and lice that seem to be more static, and black
Sound more
lice
like
and
fleas,
or black lice and white. It's not even clear if they're with the lice that we know.
Oh, yeah, maybe
Right?
fleas.
So it might be fleas or
Jumping,
floor,
yeah.
or it could be, I don't know, spider mites or something. We don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm saying, but by the time you get to Tosas, things get really complicated because they can't even identify what are these lice that they're talking about here in the time of the Gemara. The reality, right? The environment has changed as by the time they get to Europe from what there was in Eretz Yisrael in Babylonia 500-600 years before. But at any rate, this is the Gemara. Lo yifala is kelav. So yifala means to delouse. Kelav means your begadim. We're in the middle of the page. We're good. Ibay lahu. So here's the Gemara's question. Lo yifala kelav bayom shema yaharog. You shouldn't clean your clothing from lice on the day of Shabbos because you might kill them. It'd be wrong to kill them. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Rabbi Eliezer he, Detanya, Amar Rabbi Eliezer hahori kina b'Shabbos kilu hori gamal. It was like killing a louse, is like killing a camel. Obviously, camel is the largest animal they could identify. Britain didn't have elephants running around. In other words, a louse and a camel is the same kind of thing. You can't kill one, you can't kill the other. And then the Mishnah says, "V'lo yikol olaner shemayata." Then you can. The second part of that line in the Mishnah is something completely different. You can't read by candlelight because you may move the candle. Is that what it means? Right? We're following Rabbi Eliezer's opinion, says you cannot kill a louse, and therefore you can't check lice on Shabbos because you might kill them. Ol Dilma, Tarvayo Shemayato. Maybe no. Maybe it means you shouldn't check lice, and you shouldn't read by candlelight. Because the issue is not so much killing a louse, maybe that's not the problem. But what's the issue? The issue is you will come to adjust the candle. You'll adjust the candle to read words, and you'll adjust the candle because these lice, you need to have the contrast to see them on the clothing. Right? Okay? Sorry, it sounds kind of gross, but this is what it was.
You know what? If you really had lice in your clothing, believe me,
Right.
it's a problem. I would imagine.
By the way, it's for us it sounds extremely difficult. If you go to Israel,
Hot
right?
climate, yeah.
It's not a hot climate. It's like, okay, there's lice.
Like,
Lice.
No, lice.
Cucumber.
Here they send kids home for lice. Right?
Absolutely.
Not in Israel. Not in Israel. There's no such law. It's a very different cultural environment.
Well, they don't
Spreads
send you
easily.
home, but they certainly, because when we lived in Israel, now of course my wife, remember more, I swear to God, I don't know if we actually had the kids, right, who go to they went to an Azor, like a regional school, and I can remember, they had to once check their head or something because I think the lice lay eggs or something.
Yes,
like
correct.
that.
Yes, they check them. But I'm saying, but if a kid has it, until the kid is eradicated, here they'll send the kid home until the kid gets cleaned.
Because it spreads.
No, there the kids
Because they
work
spread,
on
of
the
course.
farm, it's just one of those
Because they
things.
spread, because they jump from hair to hair.
Yeah.
Right? They jump from head, from body to body. Okay, there are head lice, there are body lice,
Jeez.
right? There's all kinds of lice. Okay. So that's the question. Toshma. So the Gemara tries to prove our Mishnah intending to say you cannot kill lice or you cannot check lice by candlelight. So it tries to bring a brisa. In Polin, the ain korin lar haner. So Polin is lo yifale. You cannot delouse and you can't read by candlelight.
Yeah.
So the Gemara initially thinks that this brisa is clearer than our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says lo yifalet kelav,
Right.
v'lo yikol olaner. And there it says ain Polin.
Right.
Right, it says ain Polin v'ain
korin,
korin. So for
both.
some reason the Gemara thinks that this makes it a little more clear than our Mishnah. Ain Polin one, v'ain korin olaner is something completely different. So the Gemara responds, nah. Mi alima mimas nisan. It's a rhetorical question. Is that any stronger than our Mishnah? Our Mishnah can be. You can read that brisa just like our Mishnah both ways. You can't check for lice because you may kill them, or you can't check for lice because you can't read them. You can't check for lice by candlelight. So Gemara says, okay, we have another brisa. Ain polim lorner v'ain korin lior haner. So this brisa is a little more clear. This one says you cannot check for lice by candlelight, and you cannot read by candlelight. Right? And then the brisa continues. Elu min halachot shamru be'aliyat Chananya ben Chizkiah ben Goren. Okay, this is the end of the brisa. This is one of a listing of different halachas that they decided to follow Beit Shammai. Okay, there was and this will actually be the subject of a Mishnah on Daf Yud Gimel Amud Bet, right? Which is actually the next Mishnah that comes up. Well, the Gemara will talk about whether that Mishnah is a continuation of this Mishnah, right? So in other words, are the objects being mentioned? Because it really, you'll see it as it's one of these Mishnayos that seem to have very little to do with Shabbos. So is it simply a standalone Mishnah, or is it a continuation of some of the things we just mentioned about Ein Polin and not reading by candlelight, which was also decided in Aliyat Gam Chananya Ben Goren?
So we're agreeing that it's clear what this just
But this
said.
brisa, we're not going to talk about the connection between Polin and Korin and why it's one of the halachas that were mentioned in Aliyat Chananya Ben Chizkiya Ben Goren, which I told you was the listing of things we follow Beis Shammai and not Beis Hillel. They took a vote, and Beis Hillel was outnumbered. Okay, so most of the time we follow Beis Hillel. Here was a bad day for Beis Hillel. But you see from this brisa, clearly they're two separate things.
But they both have to do with Laura on there.
Shma Mina, you see from this, the Tarvayu Shema Yata Shma Mina.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see that clearly the reason you cannot check for lice is because we're afraid we may move the lamp to see the lice better. Now, here's a question. Does that mean you can kill lice?
It's not clear. I mean,
Or does it
say.
mean possibly that if you do it carefully, you won't kill lice? Okay, you see the difference? In other words, are we saying you shouldn't do it by candlelight because you may move the candle, but if it was a clear day and you didn't need the candle, you could check for lice? Does that mean I don't really care if you kill the lice? Or does that mean if you're careful enough, you won't kill the lice? You just simply roll them off, which is possible. Okay. Right. Well, you'll see what you don't know. You're
I'm not
not
experienced with lice, I have no idea.
All I know is there's a picture of a comb here. That's what I was talking.
No, because with kids, they used to find combs.
Oh, fine, I'm telling you.
You have to get the
I agree.
eggs
It was
out.
no big deal on the farm, but still.
Correct, right. Now, the problem with lice, by the way, is not just clearing off the adults, which are
The eggs,
jumping
yeah.
around.
No,
It's
no.
the eggs that they
The eggs are
lay,
the big problem.
and that's why they use like insecticides, which are not even healthy, because the eggs will hatch, and then you'll have the next generation, next generation, correct. But here, this is talking about, they didn't understand about looking for the eggs, or maybe they thought the nits were lice as well. It's possible they may have thought the nits were
I see a
simply
picture of a
Nits-
masrek here,
nits
so I
are
don't
what?
know if it's gonna
Excuse
be
me?
mine.
the nits,
What is the eggs?
which are the eggs.
That's what
right?
the word
That's
for
what
the
they
eggs?
call.
Okay.
They're glued on, that's because they have a
Right,
special
they're
glue.
special glued, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So they may have thought that they may not have identified them as eggs necessarily. They may have thought of them as creatures that were stationary, and therefore they may not have even identified that taking off an egg. They may have thought that you're simply rolling a Lao cell off, right? And therefore you're not going to kill it because it wasn't moving before. It's not moving afterwards, right? And it is possible, by the way, when you take the comb, if you kind of clean, go through it, and you get the lice jump off, you don't have to kill them necessarily.
Yeah.
If you want to kill them, you put it into water, like put it into a cup or something.
They claim that, Napoleon, the main reason why his army failed in Russia, undergoing, was because of lice and the diseases they carry and all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff, right?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
No? No?
They were in
Typhus.
Russia. They were in Russia. They had nothing to eat. That's all.
Oh,
'Cause what
the
happens-
starvation.
The scorched earth. The Russian war
I
bad.
agree with that part, yes, I'll go.
That's
I'll
Because
go with the
also
scorched
the winter,
earth,
like
but I still
the
bring you a
Germans,
thing
the
on
winter, the
other.
Russian winter got them.
Yeah,
Also, no
all
food,
The
no
these
Germans
factors.
does the winter. It's because of the autumn of the fall.
I'll
because
bring you-
all the
I don't
walls
know.
Sorry,
full
I
of water.
apologize.
There was
I'll
no-
bring
no,
you
it
something,
couldn't go
you'll
through.
bring
Okay,
something,
okay,
well, I'll
okay.
bring something. No
We
problem.
live in a world society where people bring diseases from one continent to another, okay? Right. Though I've noticed that shlichim, when they come, have a very difficult first year, and I believe because they pick up a lot of diseases, like colds and things, the variety of which they don't have any antibodies built up against. So sometimes they get sick that first year, which they tend not to carry over to years afterwards. That's an anecdote. It's not scientific information.
No, you're probably right.
Right, okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Now,
Now, so we see. So anyway, we do see that the problem with pulling lice off or delousing is really about you may move the candlelight.
Right.
Okay. Now, the Gemara extends this. Again, this is actually a very almost semi-funny piece of Gemara. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, that you cannot use candlelight even afilu lahavchin ben bigdo lebigdei ishto. Okay, this sounds like the term unisex garments.
Yeah.
So it looks like the garments for men and women were very similar.
Men did wear robes and things, most.
Right, I know they wore skirts and all that.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
We're tunics. Like
Robes.
correct. So the male tunic and the female tunic could, I guess, have been interchanged. It's not like today where there are, well, there was unisex, but I'm saying it's not like today that they are built very tight, and obviously it may be more difficult for one gender to wear garments of another gender, right? Both pants and slacks and blouses and shirts. But now so therefore comes along Rabbi Yehuda, name of Shmuel, to say that even to choose which garment from one to the other, you can't use the candlelight because you may come to adjust the light. Right? This looks like the candle may flicker, or you maybe need more light, because it looks like they were actually extremely similar. Now, you say that sounds ridiculous. How could this be?
Could it be the opposite? Because they're not extremely, what he's saying is, because they're not extremely similar, you still can't use a light. Like he's saying the opposite. Because they're so different shape, whatever.
Shouldn't have to use a light.
You still can't use a light.
Even though they're different.
Even though you don't need much light to is that what he's saying?
I don't know.
Hard to say.
I think he's saying, well, you'll see in a moment
Well,
that.
let's see the
You'll
rest
see in a moment because it does differentiate between types of clothing.
Okay.
So now Rava comes to explain Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rava lo Amarn el Debnei Mechuza. Okay, so Rava says this only applied in the city of Mechuza. Why? Okay, well, let me show you the whole sentence and we'll explain that. Avo the b'nei chaklisa made the yadeh. Okay, so apparently the difference between male and female garments was exactly the opposite of our society. The male garments were tighter, the female garments were more blousy, were wider.
They didn't want the female form to
So it does not appear to be that. That's what you would normally think. It appears to be the other way around. That they made their garments tighter when they went to work, because otherwise, if your garments are loose, all kinds of schmutz is going to go in.
It's harder to
Get
work.
stuck on a tree.
Stuck on a tree, so everything else. You want the garments that are tighter. And I don't mean tight, form-fitting garments.
but yeah.
I'm saying, but therefore, the sleeves would have been tighter because they're working garments.
Right.
So you don't want to get caught. You don't want stuff to go in. You don't want to clean up all the dirt. Right? You're going after the cow. You want to be able to catch the cow, not catch your sleeve.
Right.
Women who did not work, right? Women who did not work wore blousy, much wider types of garments. I guess tznius would be the secondary reason for it. However, in Mechoza was a very rich town apparently, and Rashi says that the people of Mechoza were, they were not workers. They weren't manual laborers. So therefore, their garments, the male garments in Mechoza, were wider as well. So the difference between a male jacket and a female jacket could have been very similar. So it doesn't mean to say that they were the same. It doesn't mean to say that we are now accepting cross-dressing as a halachic allowance, but saying that the garments in Mechoza were actually similar. Except, however, in Chaklisa, where they were, they really worked hard. They were workers. Made the yadeh. They could tell very clearly which was the male garments, because the male garments were thinner. Rashi actually used the term tsarim. They were shorter.
Okay.
So it's not just maybe the sleeves were tighter. Maybe the tunics were shorter because they were out in the field. They didn't want to get the garments dirty. And the women, on the other hand, were wider. Rashi used the term rechavim. Batayat shelahem. Batayat is really the sleeve. Mm-hmm. So there was wider and and longer and blousy and not as tight fitting. So therefore, there was not a problem to use candlelight to differentiate when you got up in the morning or went to sleep which garment was who. And now one final piece with the b'nei Mechoza nami lo amarn el dezikenos. And even in Mechoza, the only time that they were really concerned was between the garments of men and the garments of older women. Okay, so the garments were very similar. But aval yelados, but the young girls, or the younger women, so to speak, the younger women had very wide garments. I guess the wider was the more, it almost looked like the Victorian model. The wider was more fitting on the female form. So that would be okay. They could never confuse those. So in Mechoza, where everybody wore maybe fatter garments, but it was only the kanos and the males that they were concerned about confusing. But males and young women, so that that was very clear to differentiate between the two. If the men of Mechoza had wider garments, the Yelados, the young ladies, the young women, the young girls, had even wider garments. Okay? So far so good?
So far so good.
There we're good. Okay? So, by the way, Tosa says that if you want to extend this law right? You want to extend this law, it would not just be between male and female, between male and male. As Tosa says, it's short Tosa, afilo havkin ben big do big day ishto, right? That you can use a candlelight to separate between the two. And what do we say? It's only when the male garments and female garments are similar. But it could be the same thing between my garment and your garment. Think of it, we went to a cloaked room, and instead of having fluorescent lights, we had one candle. And now we want to it's time to go home. Yeah. Can you check to say that I'm taking the right raincoat and you're taking the right raincoat? Because they're very similar. Right? Sure. So Tosa says it's not simply about gender issues, it's really about even could be male and male. Big dollar, big de chavero. Okay?
But so far, up there in the Aliyah there, Aliyah Chanan, it sounds like right now,
the issue was
because of the candle,
correct?
Right? Period. For both of them.
Correct.
Okay.
So what we haven't really determined is the issue: can you kill a louse, or we're not concerned about? Either we're not concerned about killing a louse, or you will not kill a louse.
That wasn't clear yet.
That's not clear yet.
Right.
Okay. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how you get rid of lice. Okay, going to give you a bit of a detail here of work. So first of all, this was very common apparently. Cleaning lice was extremely common. You'll see this in a moment. You just get the flavor from the Gemara. Ein polin b'reshus rabbim kavod. You don't clean lice off your garments in a public area. Okay, it's like one of those things you just don't do. It's just considered, the lice are detestable, despicable. It's just not proper etiquette. Right? Yeah. And another thing you don't do in Reshus Harabim because of kavod, because of respect for the people. So we have, it's not a Shabbos thing. Rabbi Yehuda Varmelei Rabbi Nechemia. Ein osin apoktizin b'Reshus Harabim kavod. You don't take a type of medication that would make you vomit. These were the Epicureans who ate and ate and ate and ate. And then they vomited, so they go back and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat again. But however, so this actually apparently is I guess it's not common, but if it were done, don't do it in Rosh Hashanah. Go find a back alley.
Apparently it wasn't so uncommon.
Right. Apparently this is not the kind of thing that was unheard of, except it's unheard of. Don't do it in the main street.
Exactly.
Do it on the side alley. Go to the garbage dump.
Do it at home at parties,
Right. Okay. So this has nothing to do with Shabbos, nothing to do with lice. It's simply just another example because of kavod. So this, by the way, we've gotten a little bit off of the Shabbos topic. And what are we saying? Therefore, because of kavod, you can't do this in public as well. Okay. Now, Tana Rabbanan, Hamafales Kelav, Molel V'Zorek. Okay, when a person is telling you how to do this, when a person takes the lice off his begadim, kelav or begadim, molel, he rolls them, v'zorek, and throws them off. Ubavad shelo yarog, provided you don't kill them.
So this must be for Shabbos.
Right, so it looks like it's a Shabbos thing, correct? So in other words, how do you get them off? You don't grab them and squish them, right? Somehow you get a hold of them and roll them off so they loosen their grip, right? And then you throw them away.
Did you roll the fabric maybe or something?
Maybe it's on the garments, and you're right, it's on your garment somewhere. It's not head lice; these look like more like body lice. Bavash lo yaharog. I'm sorry?
I thought you talked about clothing. I thought you were
Clothing.
Yeah, clothing. So
So
look,
you just roll the
right. So I'm saying, is it clothing lice or these body lice that got attached to your clothing? It's not clear. I don't know. I said. So when you look at Tosa, seems to refer to Rishon talking different kinds of lice varieties. So we know there are different kinds of lice, right? I don't know. So Abba Shal Omer, no tel v'zorek, ubavad shlo yimlol. And Abba Shal says, no, the other way around. You take them, you hold them, and you throw them off, and you don't roll them around. So rolling them around apparently was either a way to kind of really squish them, or was a way to disable them. That's what molel seems to be. Molel, if you kind of move them around, they get disoriented, and you throw them, or else grab them and just throw them off. Because if you roll them around, they may, I don't know, something may happen to them. They may die. And I'm Rav Huvin, even passing stuff. Halacha molel v'zorik v'zeo kvodo. So you kind of roll them and throw them out. And that's the proper way to do it, the respectful way to do it. Ve'afilu b'chol. Not just even on Shabbos, you should roll them not to kill them. Even during the weekday, when you are therefore going to go delouse yourself, which you obviously can't do in public, but you do it in a side alley, you have to roll them and throw them away. There's a proper way to pick off the lice, and there's no proper way.
So this is the halacha, he says.
This is the halacha ve'afilu b'chol.
Right.
But you can kill them during the week.
Right, but this is a kavod. There are two things here. One is whether you can kill them, and one is the proper etiquette for taking off lice. For us, it's hard to even imagine this proper etiquette. They says,
Maybe it wasn't considered
V'zehu
nice
kvodo,
to kill
zehu
Wasn't nice to
kvodo.
kill them.
Apparently, they'd have to squash them.
I
Apparently,
mean, the blood came out. I don't know.
it didn't look nice.
I don't know,
Yeah,
whatever it
right.
I
was.
have no idea. Okay.
I don't know. It's like picking your nose in public or something.
Yeah. Hey, that's the way it was.
In other words, this is such a
Okay,
rampant
fine.
problem that there are proper ways to do it and improper ways to do
Right.
it.
Okay, I
Right.
got you. Okay.
So, but the point is, even on the whole.
Right.
Now, why is these two words important? Because the next piece about these Amoraim who would kill them, right? It's not very clear. It looks like it's talking about Shabbos, right? So we're going to see in a moment. Rabbi X killed lice. Rabbi Y killed lice. Rabbi Z
Right.
killed lice.
Yeah, who says
So it
he-
looks like he killed them on Shabbos. Some of the Rishonim say that's not possible. How could they kill them on Shabbos? Well, the Gemara says it looks like you should have shitos. You shouldn't. It must be that he killed them during the week.
Right. Didn't agree with that.
Right. So even though it looks like, in fact, this last Tosas on the page, we'll see in a moment. We could Rashi just look at the Rashi. Tosas says we didn't read the Gemara. Rabba miktalahu. Rabba would kill them. Afarish riva b'chol. V'koi ad Rav Huna, and it goes on Rav Huna. The kamar zel kvod afilu b'chol. Right. Okay. V'anan samchinu Rashi dafilu b'Shabbos, and we follow Rashi that he can do it even on Shabbos, not just about weekdays, that he did on weekdays, and we follow Beis Hillel who says that we'll see later on says you can actually kill lice on Shabbos. Okay, don't try it at home.
Well, here the halacha says you can't even kill them during the week, and
No,
then
you-
you're saying the halacha.
You roll them off during the week to make sure not to kill them. So then we'll see in a moment when it says the next guy's killed them.
Right.
So there could be, Tosa says, it means that it happened even during the week. Rashi seemed to say that it's actually going to be talking about Shabbos. Tosa says it's talking about during the week. So it's not clear that you could kill them on Shabbos or not. You can kill them during the week, sure. All right, you want to see how these guys had fun killing lice? Rabba mikdalahu. Rabba would kill them. Rav Sheshes mikdalahu. Rav Sheshes would kill them. Okay, kata means to cut, right? But it means to kill them. Rabba shadile lekana damaya. Rabba would throw them into a pail of water, right? It's okay. This was a little more finesse. Amalahu Rav Nachman Labante. Rav Nachman would say to his daughters, right? They obviously were checking for lice on him. Okay, Katulin, kill them. It's Aramaic. V'ashminanli kola de sanvasi, and let me hear this, the voice of my enemies. Okay, this is sanvasi is the word of sonay, right? Just the samak and sin flip. So once again, it looks like is it on Shabbos? Those are saying no, right? He had so much discomfort.
Well, some of us. Did you ever have like a mosquito or something? You went bam. You really felt good about killing it. Sure.
But lice are very difficult.
But I'm just saying that's why you felt a sense of
Just
you're
get
like
rid
the
of them.
enemy.
Right. Now
You
I don't know.
felt great
I don't know what
killing.
these lice were screaming. Right. What exactly it meant.
No.
It's like you say in English. I want to hear you squeal. Like that's the same.
But who? To who? To the louse?
Yeah. I want to hear, like.
Yeah, it's like they're so hateful. He just feels good killing them.
Yeah. He's saying.
You never kill a cockroach or anything?
I
You
don't
go to
know.
Israel someday when you see a Jew.
So those cockroaches squeal before you even kill them.
I don't know.
do? They squish. They crack.
Yeah. Okay.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Now, let's go on. Tanya, Rav Shimon ben Elazar Omer, ein hargenes hamakolet. Now, makolet is the same. Is another term, says Rashi, for kina for louse. Why lice? Why was one called poli and one is called kina and one is called makolet? I don't know. B'Shabbos means you can't kill these type of lice. Maybe it's a different kind of louse, but Rashi says it's a synonym for the worst. Ein hargenes makolet b'Shabbos divrei Beit Shammai uBeis Hillel matirim. Beis Hillel allow it. So you see that Beis Hillel allows this as well to kill the louse on Shabbos. Okay, right. Right, so once again, I think it really goes back. That's what Rashi seems to say, that these were not that they thought that lice did not simply reproduce, right? They simply just grew out of human skin of some sort, abiogenesis or something like that. So therefore, it wasn't the same as, according to Beis Hillel's opinion, as killing a gamal, right? Because here it clearly says Shabbos. Okay. Yes,
So in
question?
the Middle Ages, they thought maggots or something were they took a piece of meat.
Oh,
Correct.
definitely.
Correct.
Yeah, for
Put
sure
it,
they
put it
thought
on a
was
piece of glass,
spontaneous.
like in a glass bottle,
Right.
and all of a sudden they got
All
maggots
these
in the
worms,
meat.
yeah. these
And they
sort of
said
worms,
it's
yeah.
spontaneous. They thought it was spontaneous because they didn't realize the eggs or whatever was there
Correct,
was
with
in
my
the meat
flies.
already. Flies,
The flies laid the eggs and flew off.
Yeah.
flew out,
they didn't
right, and they
realize
thought it was spontaneous generation.
Right,
They
and
didn't
maggots
real-
get big very quickly.
Sorry, for sure.
Maggots
yeah.
get confused.
So maybe they thought this was similar.
Yeah.
So this clearly looks like it's similar. That there was not the normal type of pruravu, but they say Ella. Rashi says Ella that the kina ino paravarava does not reproduce. El mibsar adam hishoretzes. It simply comes after the skin of people, right? Of the basar, the flesh of people, some magically whatever it was. Okay. The same way that Chazal believed that that salamander. We had this one at the end of one of our septas. The salamanders come out of fire.
Right.
Right? There was this ancient belief that salamanders, and salamanders were red, they were born from fire. This had to do with the fact that salamanders lived in damp wood, and they would collect wood and throw it into the fire,
it ran
and the
out.
salamanders would jump out. So they didn't understand that. So they said, right, that and this was not just a Jewish belief, it was an ancient world belief as well, that salamanders therefore were created, fire creates salamanders. Okay. All right. So that's something you can't do l'or haner. And who said this now? Rav Shimon ben Elazar said this, brought this machlokas between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Correct? Okay. Right. Now, having said one thing from Shimon ben Elazar, so the Gemara says something else. V'chein haya Rav Shimon ben Elazar mishum Rav Shimon ben Gamliel say, ein meshatchim es atinokos la'ares, v'lo es atinok l'lamdo. So Rav Shimon ben Elazar says something else, that there's also a machlokas about Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel on the following item. Has nothing to do with lice, has nothing to do with candles, but it's a Shabbos law. And it's a machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. And there's a whole series of items that Beis Shammai will say you can't do and Beis Hillel allows. Let's see what they are. So the first thing is Mishatchem es hatinokos la'ares. Tinokas is, of course, a young girl. Now we use the term tinok to refer to a baby.
Right.
Tinok in the parlance of the Mishnah and Gemara is actually a child. So tinok does not necessarily mean like a baby in arms. Now it doesn't mean a baby, it doesn't mean a toddler, it means a young child.
Like 4 years.
4, 5, 6 would be considered.
Like
Right.
engaging Rachel when she's 3 years old, let's say.
Correct. All right, but even older means that you haven't really begun the process of even growth, major growth. I mean, there is growth. There's growth from 0 to 5. I'm saying, but the growth that begins approaching adolescence. So when in terms, so for us that sounds also a little ridiculous. Why are they making shidduchim for young children? But the answer was they did. They used to do that.
Yeah.
People lived much shorter, right? They got married when they turned 12, 13.
Yeah.
That was maturity,
Absolutely.
right? And Anara was 12. A Bogeris was considered 12 and a half. She was an old
Yeah.
maid.
Sure.
So they would make the shidduchim when they were younger. It could be 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can't make shidduchim. The shidduchim are not really marriages. They're simply deals.
Well, a race is Erusin, right? It's like,
You can make the shidduch,
Right.
right, to set up for the erusin.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you obviously can't do the erusin, but you
Right.
can't make the shidduch.
For it, right.
Right, like what we call t'nayim, or we don't
Right.
even do it today. But back in the day, they would set up t'nayim,
Right.
and they would actually be betrothed one to the other.
You would actually do the contracts?
Well, if
Or
they
they
didn't
just
do the
talk-
contract, they could do an oral contract.
Yeah, I think so. It's say,
Right.
my so-and-so's gonna marry your son.
Right, you got to bring so much in for the dowry, and I'm going to provide this, and you're going to provide that, and this and that. We're going to buy them a house.
They're going to wait 4 years. They're going to wait like 3-4
Well,
years.
maybe
Okay,
another
fine,
8
okay.
years.
Right, whatever.
A few years.
Fine. Now that sounds very difficult, but the truth is there are people, not so much in the religious world, religious Jewish world, in the general world, there are people who have very long engagements. It's not unheard of that people would go 2, 3, 4 years, right?
I'm not saying it.
I have a girlfriend, you have a boyfriend, and it goes on for years until they actually get married, if they get married. So this was the society for us. Now, what of course rubs us the wrong way in our Western values is the kids don't seem to have a say in the matter.
Why would?
She was already spoken for.
Of course. Father knows best. The family knows best.
Well,
What does the
okay.
kid know?
Correct, okay. That's where it was said as. Okay, but at any rate, says the first one is, and you'll see it's Beis Shammai, that you can't do this on Shabbos. Why can you not do this on Shabbos?
A rate or something.
Sounds like I'm alone.
Sounds-
Sounds like an arrangement.
Sounds like a business deal.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
exactly.
okay.
Right. So there's really nothing wrong in our Torah for making a business deal on Shabbos, as long as you don't pass money, or even, and so forth. Midrabanan, it's called motzah chafatzecha. You can't do things like you do during the week. You have to make a change. So even planning, right? Even
Planning, that's what I think,
right?
planning.
Like walking, you see people in the back road doing deals in the shul. I don't know.
No,
Okay.
you're not supposed to plan trips and other things. I don't think that's not Shabbos Dekeni. I don't know.
Correct.
what
But I'm
the
saying,
law
but you can't, like people giving each other hot tips. Here's a stock to buy. It doesn't happen so much in our shul, right? Right? I don't know. But it could be, right? So these are kinds of things. And it's not done intentionally. It's not done intentionally.
This is what Yeshayahu was talking about in the Haftarah of Yom Kippur.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
sitting there making deals. What are you
Right.
guys?
That's right. That's what it means. Mimso chafatzecha.
Read that after.
Right.
You don't read that.
Torah. You're out in the Kiddush club on Yom
Yeah,
No, I
Kippur.
don't
Yeah,
know. Just on Yom Kippur.
On Yom
Okay.
Kippur. So at any rate, so Beis Shammai
Can't
says
kick
Beis Shammai says you don't do this on Shabbos. Beis Hillel
I'm with
says
Beit Shammai.
Beis Hillel would say it's okay, by the way, we'll see in the line. Right? Because Beis Hillel says, but you know what? It's not really a deal. It's not a business deal. You're not investing.
Doesn't matter.
You're investing in the future of the Jewish people,
do that
about
on-
children
do that on
and
Sunday.
grandchildren. Okay. V'lo asatinok l'lamdo sefer. And you cannot teach a child to read on Shabbos. I'm not quite sure what that would be, what the difficulty would be. Maybe the problem is the candlelight, I don't know. V'ulamdo umanos. And you can't teach him a trade.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense,
That makes
right? Because that's also going to be the same extension about not doing deals.
More so.
Right. So in other words, I don't have to have him do carpentry work, but I can train him and talk to him about being a carpenter. So Beis Shammai says you can't do that. And we don't actually do nicham avelim on Shabbos, right? Which, by the way, is what the minhag of the world is. We don't do nicham avelim on Shabbos, right? Even though Beis Hillel is going to say in a moment you can. Okay, but the minhag is everybody's not to.
Even after?
We're with Beit Shammai.
What?
During the Shiva, of course, but even after?
So,
No, I'm just wondering, because people came over when Toby's brother passed away. People came over on Shabbos, and they go, "What are you doing on Shabbos?"
They didn't know. I don't know. They wanted.
I don't know.
Some people
They wanted to visit. I don't know. There wasn't nicham
people don't know.
avelim.
Okay, maybe it was just a visit. Okay.
Okay. Ve'em menachem avelim, ve'em mevakrum cholim b'Shabbos, and you don't actually,
Oh my God.
okay, you don't do bikur cholim on Shabbos. Not something that we actually
Yeah.
do,
Why
right?
wouldn't you do it? Yeah.
So the question is, why should you not do it? I think the reason for both of these items, it may make you feel sad, right? If surely a nicham avelim would make one feel sad, right? And seeing a person who's very ill would make you feel sad, right? The reason, by the way, the reason we do nicham avelim, so the reason we do bikur cholim, by the way, why do we do the bikur cholim?
Brightens their day.
So one is it brightens their day. Second of all, we actually want, and part of brightening their day is make sure they're being looked after.
Absolutely.
Practically speaking, right? It's not just hello, how are you, but make sure that actually they're being taken care of. They're sick.
Yeah, food, whatever.
The other part is actually that we can daven on their behalf. It's easier to daven on their behalf when you see what they are. You can daven on their behalf when they're there. Right? You say, have a refuah shlema. I'm praying that you have a good recovery. I'm praying, what am I? I hope you have a good recovery. I hope God will give you a good recovery. That's a tefillah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what do we say when we make a Mishberach on Shabbos?
What do you mean? What? Mishbeach?
We make Mishberachs in Shul.
For sick
For sick
people.
people,
who are
sick people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And what do we say? Shabbos himilizak. We add 3 words. We list all the people. That's not bikur cholim to the person there,
Right.
but it's actually including them in our prayers.
Right.
We do it when the Sefer Torah is there, but we say, well, you'll see it from the Gemara. I don't know if we'll get to it today, but we'll see it next week. That Shabbos does not allow us to cry out, because Shabbos you can't really ask for personal requests. Right? Our Shemona Esrei does not have personal requests, so I can't yell and scream. If we say Tehillim, we usually don't say Tehillim on Shabbos. So we say, even though Shabbos says, even though I'm not supposed to cry out on Shabbos and pray and cry out to God to heal this person, nonetheless, Urfur Krav Alavo. Still, you should give him a quick recovery, God. So in other words, we kind of hedge the bets. right? First of all, we do Bikur Cholim, right?
Right.
We do the Bikur Cholim because we feel it's actually positive. It's
Definitely.
positive for us, positive for them.
Right.
It allows us as well to make sure they're being looked after. They need to be looked after on Shabbos as well. They cheer them up. And second of all, we don't actually pray for them, but we say we're not really crying out for them, right? If you have to daven for Choli, you don't organize a Tehillim in such a special request on Shabbos usually, sometimes, okay? So Ve'im Menachem Avelim Ve'im Cholim Shabbos Divrei Beis Shammai U'Beis Hillel Matir, and Beis Hillel allows this. So this last piece, once again, is about Shabbos, but it's off topic from the lice,
Yes, indeed.
right? So the lice, and the next piece of Gemara is actually going to go talk about Bikur Cholim and Nicham Avelim and whether we do it on Shabbos or not.
Yeah, well, just a bunch of other things that you could or couldn't do on
Right,
Shabbos, right?
but no, the lice piece is actually about is ended here, right? So what does the halach actually say? So actually, there's a piece here in Hebrew. We'll read it together. I gave a page out last week. I don't know if anyone still has it. If you don't, here a couple. It had this picture on it about the loom. Right? And I said there was a piece on the top. Anyone doesn't have it?
The loom we have.
Right. So the first piece on the top is about killing the lice.
On the other side?
No, it's all on the same side.
Yeah, so
The,
here's
the
all one
writing.
side. Yeah,
The
I
pictures
see.
on the bottom we did last time.
Rava
Okay.
Mekatele.
Rava Mekatele, okay? So this is about the quotes here from Tshuva of Rav Moshe Feinstein. So the quotes all the Gemara. Rava Mekatele, Rav Sheshes Mekatelehu. So this rabbi Rava killed them. Rav Sheshes killed them. Rava threw them into a kanya demaya, the pile of water. Rav Nachman told his daughters, Ketul, and kill them. V'lashmir, and they called the sun void, and I'll hear the voice of my enemies die. All right. So b'shel and Tshuva Sigrid Moshe's kosav she'ain shem isur. Af lo mishum midas chasidus la'rog balachayim hamuusim shemetzar moazikim la'adam. So he says there's no isur to kill an animal, kill balachayim that are disgusting to us, that bother us, that hurt us, or that can really damage us. Right, like a bee in the sukkah or a wasp in the sukkah, right? Or I don't know, a rabid raccoon. Could go on zvuvim, but this is more zvuvim, paryoshim, v'achbarim. Zvuvim are flies, parushim is some kind of flea, achbarim are mice. Okay, and mice, they're probably mice and rats, and they could be rabid. Okay, with Sovdvar of Hosef, and after Rav Moshe Feinstein says that you can actually kill. Now, lice are really not going to be, they are mazikim, they are mitzarim, but I guess you could therefore kill them. In other words, so it's not even clear what the problem was. The problem was that they're mitzarim. Avol mikomakom, reading the long paragraph, second paragraph. Mefshar tov shlo yargem biyadav mamish. It's better you shouldn't kill them with your hands. Elaydeh hanachas davar hahorgam, but do it indirectly with something else. Me'achar de chazina, because we see the osemad the ma'aseh chzaris the ritzicha afil shelam shmuchoyavim lahargam al chiv psak the Sanhedrin be here in kirni dachas. You see that the Gemara in the Masechet Sanhedrin talks about a person who kills, even if you have to kill someone who the Beit Din said has to be killed. In other words, Hutzvach Hakroli Tain Haftachim Hashem Yisparach Shitain Lohem Rachmim. You see that God had to promise that He would be merciful to them. We have the for example Pinchas, right? The story where Pinchas kills Zimri ben Salu.
Right.
How does Parshas Pinchas begin? Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron Kohen, Yeshivas Chamasim Milfnei B'Sol, Ba'Kosias Meisol B'Kinasi, Lochein Amor Hinni Nosein Lo Esbrisi Shalom. Right. So God has the promise that Pinchas will be granted peace because he killed someone. Now, was it good?
Without a Beis Din, without any kind of trial.
Well, it was kanayas, but the people were caught in the act, and it caused a whole.
But I'm saying, I think God had to forgive him because of the way he killed him.
Perhaps, okay, but God is saying that you can be a murderer, but I'm going to promise in this case I'm going to give you shalom.
Right.
V'gamod Yosef etzlam midas rachmim, and also God will add rachmim. You see the Torah to go out of its way. Kedem perish kein b'orachayim. V'zeshach shiaseh gam kishu oseh b'midas achzaros labalechayim. This is not just about killing people. It's about killing animals, killing anything that's living. Lachen tov yoter shlo larog b'yadayim oidei hanachas davar hahorgam u'chadomer. Okay, so therefore you should kill it indirectly, but not directly with your hands. The Nod Yehuda has a very famous tshuva about someone who wanted to go hunting. Right?
Middle Ages.
Right, Middle Ages, or it's actually probably 1700s, Nod Yehuda. It's the end of the Middle Ages. And the person had these large tracts of land, and he wanted to go hunting, and he was actually wanted to use the skins. He couldn't use the meat because it wasn't kosher, because he's going to shoot him, or I'm not sure, shoot him or shoot arrows or whatever, or the animals weren't even kosher. But the skins he was going to use, and he writes to the note, and he says, I really enjoy this. Note that says, well, really, you can do this. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, the animals are meant to serve you. You're going to use the skins. But then after he says you really can do it, he has a whole long piece. He says, however, you shouldn't. If you study who the hunters are in the whole entire book of the Bible, the hunters are bad people. Esav, Nimrod, Huya, Gibor Tzayid, one after the other. So this creates a terrible type of midah, a terrible type of characteristic. So yes, you could do it, but it's not a good thing to do. Okay. V'hadis b'Shabbos, and this is Rabbi Moshe Feinstein still writing. What it says in our Gemara Masechah Shabbos, b'mapel kelav, where about taking lice off Damalu, we just did this Gemara. Damalu Rav Nachman Labante ketulin v'ashminle kala desanvasi. You know, kill them, and I will hear the voice of my enemies dying. Who bikinim shebegufo v'shebegadav. So that was with lice that were in his body lice, and there were lice in his garments. Sheyev shalahargam aidei ezadavaracha. That you couldn't do indirectly. Right, you couldn't find a different way. Right, what are you going to do? You're going to take like I got the louse, you know, right? You had to really just remove them by hand. But if you have a fly, or you have, I guess these were flies that could be biting flies, like black flies of some sort, or achbarim, or mice, and rats. Tov shlo laharg ba'atzmo, better you shouldn't kill it directly. V'av shelo matzasi zeh beferish be'ezamakom tov l'snagdeh b'makom she'afshar. And Rav Moshe says, even though I don't have really a source for this, I think it's a good thing to do. So therefore, if you're going to catch mice, put out traps or something. Don't go chasing around the house looking for mice.
You don't kill them by hand.
Don't kill them by hand. I'm not sure what you do with the yellow jackets in the sukkah. I don't know.
Spray
Spray. Maybe we spray, but you're breathing in the spray too.
You get food, right?
Well, not if they're beside you.
Well,
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, you can make trap. There are traps.
There are traps for them. Yes, correct. There are traps. I don't know.
Drown or
When I
whatever.
was a dentist, we used to liquid nitrogen.
Eh?
Liquid nitrogen.
Liquid nitrogen.
Liquid nitrogen. Liquid nitrogen.
I'm kind of low on.
Some solid.
I'm kind of low on liquid nitrogen.
Yeah. Okay. At any rate, so the next piece of Gemara is actually going to talk about going to visit people. We could just do a line to introduce it.
What?
Sorry?
Nothing.
It's gruesome?
No, nothing.
Okay. So let's just start the Gemara. We'll come back to it next week. Tan Rabbanan, Hanichnas Lavakar Sachole. This is where we use in the Mishaberach. Person who goes to visit the Chola on Shabbos, Omer, he says, Shabbos himilizak rufrukro v'lavo. So he actually used the term that we use, that we've incorporated into our Mishaberach. Shabbos prevents us from litzok.
Right.
So Shabbos he, and therefore we are not allowed not to be tzoek.
Right.
But rufrukro v'lavo, nonetheless HaKadosh Baruch Hu should grant you mercy. And Rabbi Meir says, no, you can say even more. Yechola hi shetzarachim. Let it be that your God will give mercy upon you, right? And Rabbi Yehuda Omer Hamakom Yirachem Alecha ve'Achol Yisrael. And Rabbi Yehuda says that God should have mercy upon you with all the other Cholei Yisrael. So why is that better? Because I'm not simply making an individual request.
Right.
I'm including you for the Jewish people.
Right.
And Rabbi Yossi Omer Hamakom Yirachem Alecha b'Tol Cholei Yisrael.
Right.
God should have, right? What do we say when we make a Mishberach?
There are some
The
places.
Soch Shar Cholei Yisrael.
Toch Shar, yeah.
That's what we say, right?
Sure we do.
It says machzer, it's a sitter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sitter.
no, but that's
Give
what
me,
it-
yank me the sitter. Okay.
I seem to remember it does say B'shar Cholei Yisrael.
All right. And right, and that's what our Mishaberach actually is. And we'll just read that Mishaberach, and then we'll take the break here, and we'll pick up this piece of Gemara next time. Mishaberach is right here somewhere. Here's the
Yeah, Refuat Aguf, Refuat Nefesh, Refuat Aguf.
Okay. Right. So you say Mishaberach of saying Moshe and Shlomo Yerabes Achole, boom, person, because we're going to give tzedakah, because we're davening on the person. God should have mercy upon him, to heal him, to make him better, give him strength. You have all his limb should get better. Betoch shachal Yisrael, first never serves the guf, physical and mental healing. Shabbos him lavo, and how they translate it. The Shabbos prohibits us from crying out, may recovery comes speedily, and Hashtama goes on Kareem. Okay, so we're actually following what this Gemara says. Okay, so the next piece of the Gemara is going to really talk about this, and then we'll actually get back to talk about the Arohaner. All right, so where are we up to? A third line. Good. Okay, good.
We're on next week.
We're on next week.
Yes. Yeah, we're on.